audience might have a few questions. Layla's had.
Yeah. Okay, so I am so inspired. It's so inspiring, especially from a director's point of view. It's just great. My question is, how do you like directors to work with you?
Well, everyone's different. Every single one is different. There's never been two alike. The thing that I think is hard for me is when a director tells me the story. Because and a lot of directors will, or new directors, I say, do that. Well, not just new directors though. It's a weird thing. It's like I know they want to communicate something underneath that, but the facts we know. We've read the script, and so the subtext is more important to me. And see, it makes sure we agree that we're trying to do that. And then I think that all actors like to have a lot of freedom, and then to be sort of massaged a little this way. I tell you a funny story about Orson Welles that I can't believe I could even say that. He was a Orson of mine. He was working for a friend of mine, and my friend's a crazy director. You'll never be this guy. This guy is nuts. And Orson did this, and he said, "What is it?" And he said, "Louder, softer." What would be the other two? There were 4 things: louder, softer, faster, slower. That's all he wanted. Loud. He didn't want anything else. But he's a director, so that's a little bit different thing. I want more than that. I love rehearsal. I love it when, and I'm always willing to rehearse for free, which I think most actors really are. But it's against the rules. But you can call it just getting together to talk, and then you can sort of cheat it. And like the movie you'll see tonight, 10. When James we'd been trying to get this movie made for a while, and we couldn't get the money, and so finally he got a deal for a certain amount of money, but not enough to really make what we had originally planned. And he said, "Let's just do it." And it was 97 pages. He said, "But we only are budgeted. We got to shoot in 5 days." And so he decided to do it on a soundstage, sort of like a play, some exteriors, but on a soundstage, and enliven it in editing. And I think he's still working on it. I mean, we don't even have the titles on it. I don't even know if it's been color corrected, but I asked him if I could bring it, so he said yes. I'm so happy to see it. I haven't seen it. But I knew I had to prepare, and he wasn't available. So I said, "Can I get together with the kids?" Because they were young actors, and is it okay if we rehearse? I won't direct them, but can we just work? So that's all we did, was we just get together and have table reads and discussions, and then learn the lines, and got my husband to cue us, because we knew we were going to have to be like ready to go. And so we hit the stage, we felt fully prepared. And the first scene, sure enough, 11 pages, and James came over and he says, "Okay, so I think maybe you're washing dishes, and you ready?" And yes, we are. And so we just did it. And then he would tweak it a little bit and say, maybe this, maybe that. But of all the directors I've ever worked with, he's my favorite, because he does expect a lot, and it makes you do it. It makes you get there. He just expects you to be great.
Yeah.
And he really didn't give me any notes on As I Lay Dying, but he knew I loved the book, and he knew I was right for the character. Casting, of course, is the biggest part of it. And then he would just tweak it, and he would let me talk to him with ideas. He would let me come to him and say, "I think if we cover," and I would always do it respectfully and whisper it, "but if we could get coverage of this," and he would, sometimes he'd say no, sometimes he'd say yes. In fact, the reason I got in trouble with that sex scene was because in As I Lay Dying, there's a flashback to me as a young woman having an affair with the preacher. And I wanted to do it. I didn't want him to hire a young girl to do it, because I thought, I knew what it would be. I knew that this was why she fell in love, and it was freedom, and it was her one time in her life that she felt free and in love, and I had a certain way I wanted to do it. And so the first night I got there, I pitched it, and he said, "Not in this movie." And so, fair enough. And then he called me up and he said, "I got your sex scene," which I had not asked for. Very different sex scene. But so I love that we don't talk a lot, but we do have an exchange, and he seems to respect what I say and listen to me. And so those are my favorite directors. But I think directors who pay attention to details and they tell you the kind of coverage they're going to get. There's another guy on Mindy that's one of my favorite, Michael Weaver, started as a DP. And then I worked with him on Malcolm in the Middle, I worked with him on Pushing Daisies, and he came on to Mindy, and he would make sure that I was covered in the background. He would make sure that my little one line had some focus, and he would tell me, he said, we're going to go here and do that because we're going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then I would get what the shot was and why it was important and how I could help him get it. Coen Brothers, they gave us storyboards. Now, no one else has ever done that, but since they edit as they write, they have the storyboards. So they Xerox them and give them to you with your sides. So you know if it's a close-up, background, you know exactly where you're going to be and what is required of you. And that is very helpful for me to know the shot, because then I understand. I mean, I've been around for a long time. Maybe new people might not understand that, but it just helps me understand what you want in the world of the scene. But I do like rehearsal ahead of time, talking about it, listening. Because I have a lot of ideas. But it doesn't mean I have to use them. And then not telling the story. But sometimes directors are too involved with technical stuff. And my teacher used to say, you know, let them do their thing and you do yours. You take care of yourself and learn to direct yourself, because sometimes they're too busy and they can't give it to you. And that's just the way it is. I used to hear those stories when I was in New York as a theater actress. A friend of mine did a movie, and he said he went up to the director to ask him something. The director put his hand on his shoulder and said, I wish I could help you. And I thought, oh my God, that's Hollywood? So it's not always like that. But there are times when there are technical difficulties, and I've learned to have great respect for a director's time and energy and realize that there are other things besides just this one actor. You are telling a story, and there's an overall view. So again, it's collaboration and discussion, but not talking too much.
We have time for just one more, and Paul, you had your hand up a little bit ago. We'll do two more quick ones, if that's okay.
What kind of changes in your acting style are required to transition from a live performance on a theatrical stage to a sound stage in front of a camera, and vice versa?
Well, I think there's less involved than we say there is, really. I think that it's the same work. I call it creative hiding. Like, I will give the camera is the sweet spot. And let's say I'm doing a scene with you and I'm talking to you, but my soul, my energy is playing into that camera. That's the sweet spot, because that camera is going to steal it whether I want it to have it or not. But if I open up, then the audience on the other side is going to get that energy. It's just a metaphysical thing. Would you agree? It's a metaphysical thing that happens. And so you just sort of, even though the scene is you, I'm really sort of playing the camera. It's an odd thing. I mean, you don't turn and play the camera. I have a director friend of mine, she said, I cannot photograph an actor's back. They will not turn around. They always are opening up. You don't have to do that. But the same energy in a play, instead of doing it to one little sweet spot, you become my sweet spot. So I give it to you. And I might imagine, let's say, that I'm doing a speech to my backyard. I'm looking at a swing set in my backyard, and I'm looking a bit over your head, but I'm really giving you that memory as I describe it. And I'm opening, it's that thing of revealing your soul, opening up your heart to the audience. So you might do it, you might have to project, depending on the theater, you might have to project a little bit more. I would say that's the only real difference, is the projection. Because I have learned that in film, a mic is your best friend. You can really, especially these new mics, oh, they're so good. You can just whisper, you can talk, you can have the lowest voice, and you can say just the littlest thing, and it's huge. So I would say just voice projection and control is the only, do you agree with that? Real difference?